and you came back. That still surprises me. I tell you, the talk that I did this morning is in a series called Becoming Bold, and I sold out of them, and I apologize. I didn't. You never know. I'm terrible at that stuff. So what I did was, there's a form over there that if you want to get it and pay for it tonight, I'll pay the shipping to send it back to you guys. So since I ran out of it, feel free to take advantage of it. One of the things that we're trying to do with the ministry is, to me, I feel like when it comes to our faith, we have to know it, we have to live it, we have to share it. And this isn't a baseball game. 2 out of 3 doesn't work in this one. You know, we got to do all 3 of them. And this morning was the share it piece. Okay, that's what I was trying to come after you with this morning, was that we got to get out and get serious about talking about our Heavenly Father. The live it piece, what I've got for the live it piece here, there's these little wristbands over there, guys. And I don't want to sound commercial or anything, but I will for this, because I don't benefit from this. There's a village in the Philippines that a friend, new friend, I just met him. He started a ministry a while ago called Threads of Hope. And the name intrigued me because I'm Reasons for Hope. He's Threads of Hope. And I've been sharing these wordless bracelets forever. I mean, I carry them wherever I go. The gospel, you guys have seen these. They typically do them with beads, but the beads always break. You know, so now you're walking around with 3 out of the 5 colors, and well, there should be a bead here, and so it doesn't really work. But with this, the beads never break. And so while I was over there in the Philippines, I found one place that I could get these made, but it was a group that I didn't want to support that made them. So I was like, man, I need a Christian. And so the Lord put me in touch with this guy named Alex. And Alex went to a village a few years ago, and there was a lady selling these wristbands. So he bought a number of them from them, and it was a very poor village, as many villages are over there. And women were in prostitution. They were selling their children into the sex trade business. And he saw what was going on there, and he said, you know what, I got to do something. So he started this ministry called Threads of Hope. He now has 150,000 bracelets a year out of this village. 150 families are fully supported by making these things. They've built the church. They've got a full-time pastor. They've turned everything around. He's got 10 months of salary in the bank so that if they never sell another bracelet, he can pay those folks that are making these things for 10 more months, so while they transition into a new job. That's his unemployment. And I'm like, man, anybody that's doing that kind of a ministry, I want to support. So that's what these are. These cost $2 a piece. These are the friendship bracelets. I give away the gospel ones. I don't have enough for everybody, but I give them away. And if you want to get these, the money goes to the Philippines. 150 families totally transformed from thread. I use this as a challenge, especially to young folks. Guys, that's ministry. That's ministry. Threads. Get creative. We are bound in ministry by our lack of imagination. This guy did an amazing thing, so I want to support him. So that's my live it part. So I've done the share it part. That's my live it part as far as the ministry and me personally. Now we're going to talk about the know it part. By the way, that's my grandson. Yep, I know. I got to show him. It's his birthday next month. He's going to be 2. And I'm waiting on a granddaughter. She is due any minute. Any minute. So my daughter-in-law's had contractions for the last week. Pray for her. Yeah. So, know it. Tonight we're going to talk about something that is, to me, something very important. This is actually a commercial. You've probably seen it. May not know what it is, but anybody know what it's a commercial for? What? A what? A car. Nope. Good guess. I'm sorry? Godzilla. No, this is actually a beer commercial. This message of evolution is so prevalent in our culture today that, I mean, it's made its way into milk commercials, it's made its way into gum commercials, it's on Wendy's children wrappers, McDonald's children's wrappers. It's in beer commercials. Now, in the beer commercial, it's a Guinness beer commercial. They're standing in the bar, and these 3 guys are drinking a beer. And after they take a drink, they devolve. I've reversed this, okay? They devolve back to the point that they're a mud skipper. May I make a very important point? If you drink anything that makes you devolve back to the point that you're a mud skipper, you might not to drink it. I'm just saying. So, yeah, that's how prevalent this message is. So I call this human evolution. Is that all you got? Because you see, as a Christian, we need to know it, live it, and share it. And so what is one of the major tools in our culture today that's being used to get us to doubt this book? And this is what it's all about ultimately. Ultimately, it's about this right here. If I can trust this book or not. So I need to understand what the world is doing, what the world is using to get us to doubt this. Because when you doubt this, this will not follow. You know what I'm saying? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind. If your mind cannot trust this book, I'm telling you right now, all the hand waving, and you don't think that I'm denigrating the music or any of that. All the hand waving experiential stuff that you got going on, if the mind can't trust this book, that will go away very quickly. Heart, mind, soul, strength. You see, I just put it like that. Know it, live it, share it. We need to know it, live it, share it. And when you know it, it helps the living and sharing it part, because now you're free. You know, hey, I can tell you why I believe what I say I believe, and you're open, and it's an encouragement. But everybody's got commercials, so let me show you my commercial.
Hello, I'm Creation.
And I am the theory of evolution.
You know, why is that?
Why is what?
That you're a theory.
Well, because I sort of kind of haven't been proven at all yet.
Well, what do you mean yet?
Well, there's a lot of scientists still trying to prove anything about me.
Oh, how's that coming?
Yeah, not so good.
Not so good?
No.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, it's okay. What about you?
What, proof?
Well, yeah, why aren't you a theory?
Well, because every design has a designer.
Ah, but what if that design is random?
That's not possible.
It has to be.
Why? Hey, look, it's the missing link.
What? You're just
Sorry. Now that's random.
Forgive me, I'm a Mac guy. Sorry. There's two ways we got here. Let's be honest. There's two ways we got here. Number one is God said. And I think God said needs to become the rallying cry of every Christian. Not what do you think, what do you think, what do you think? What did the seminary professor teach me? What did the science professor teach me? God said, because as a Christian, remember, he's the rabbi, I'm the Talmudim, I'm the disciple, I'm the servant, he's the master. God said that needs to be the way that we approach these issues. And God said in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. But I know what you're thinking. Well, we live in a world that they say there's no evidence for God. Anybody ever hear that claim? No evidence for God? Anybody? Anybody? Nobody? Everybody. We've all heard that. So, you know what I did? I debunked that myth. So, would you like me to debunk the myth that there is no evidence for God? Those of you that weren't here this morning, you're like, what's that all about? Hang on, put your seatbelt on. We're going to debunk it.
Lots of people say there's no evidence for God. Well, we're going to knock that one out in three. I'm just going to have to keep it simple, throw in the old 1-2 combo, get in and out real quick, and let you fine folks chat all about it, okay? Punch one I'm going to call the info uppercut. When's the last time you walked into a library and asked, hey, where are all the books that have been written by mindless products of natural laws? The librarian would probably laugh at you and tell you that no such books exist. They don't exist because they can't exist. Why not? Because first of all, it's just common sense. The words that form the message in books always originate from a person with a brain. Or to say it a bit more scientifically, the message of the book, the purpose, comes to be understood by the orderly placement of the words, design, and information. Ah, information. Now, anytime we find info, these basic laws always apply. Number one, matter doesn't spontaneously produce information. Number two, only a mental source, intelligence, can generate new creative information. In other words, just like those books that couldn't originate without a mind, neither could life. Why not, you ask? Because we know that DNA contains information. Therefore, the laws of information science apply, which means the information in DNA couldn't have spontaneously generated, and that a mind is behind the information. Period. No exceptions. Look at it this way. The simplest life form we know of is an amoeba, and it contains as much information in its DNA as 1,000 complete sets of Encyclopedia Britannica. So, are we to believe that there's no way a message in a library book could spontaneously generate, but far more complicated messages in DNA that contain 1,000 times more information could have? Not likely. You see, when it comes to life or anything else that contains information, the laws of information science confirm the necessity of a creative mind. And guess what? In the very first book of the Bible, it just happens to mention that. In the beginning, God created. Bam! Uppercut lands on the chin. And now here comes the indefensible head blow. We'll call this the Nada Big Bang Bing swing, the KO to the claim that there's no evidence of God, the law of causality, left hook of doom. It goes like this. Everything that had a beginning had a cause. The universe had a beginning, therefore the universe had a cause. Now, either something caused the universe to come into existence, or nothing caused it. I might not be the smartest guy behind the telescope, but honest, practical, everyday thinking's going to lead me to the former. You have to work pretty hard to conjure up a way that nothing did it. You see, it's pretty improbable, nigh impossible, to account for design, information, and cause if the universe just exploded from nothing. Smack. And while we're on the topic, where did the matter come from that exploded? Are we really to believe that there was nothing and then it exploded, and now the exploded nothing is something, and we just happen to be smart enough to discover and understand the very laws that prove the opposite? And if the general understanding of the law of cause and effect is true, how can matter come from a lesser cause like nothing? I mean, come on. I don't have a bunch of letters after my name, but even a monkey knows better. And yeah, I snuck in a couple of extra jabs in there, so sue me. Now for some parting words from our sponsor, the Bible. It tells us in Romans 1:20 that since the creation of the world, God's invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so they are without excuse. It also says that people actually know the truth, but they reject it, which explains why even though there's overwhelming evidence that there is a God, evidence won't convince the unwilling. Sad but true. So there you have it. With just a couple of meaningful blows, the claim that there is no evidence for God is down for the count, mi amigos. In other words, it's been debunked. Adios.
So, God said, I can't run right by that. That God said is very, very important. Do you understand that the Bible doesn't claim to be a good book? It claims to be the Word of God. God said. And by the way, do you know how many times that term is used? That term is used 46 times. 46 times the Bible says, God said. And by the way, of those 46, 28 of them occur in Genesis. You think Genesis is important. You better believe that it is. It's the foundation to the whole rest of the structure. So, God said what? God said, let us make man in our image. Do you understand? There's your value. There it is. Think about it. This morning I told you, America, most Christian nation on the planet, more Christian music, more Christian TV, more Christian wristbands, shirts, shoes. We got Christian everything, and we're losing 50 to 88% of our children raised in the church at age 18. They're gone. Something's not right. Think about that. Suicide is the number 3 killer of teenagers today. We are the most Christian nation on the planet, quote unquote. Excuse me. Where's the disconnect? How can we be the most Christian group and suicide is the number 3 killer of our children? You know what it is? We've allowed them to be lied to. We've allowed them to be deceived into thinking that their value is based in something that it is not based in. Their value is not based in anything that we bring to the plate. ADD's kicking in. This is the way that it works. Sorry. You see, guys, this is the reality. There's a number of young people in here tonight, and you need to see this because we have been lied to into believing that our values are based on, oh, how smart are you? How talented are you? How well can you throw a ball, catch a ball, kick a ball? That's for the guys here. You know what? If that's where our value is, we are in trouble. Because you know why? I used to be an athlete. I know looking at me today, you find that hard to believe. But I used to be an athlete. I can't even lift my arm above my head anymore because of the torn rotator cuff thing. So my value's no more? No. Because my value is not based on the fact of how far I can throw a ball, catch a ball, or kick a ball. Ladies, you are absolutely under assault in our culture today. Ladies are under attack now more than any time in history. This is one continuous shot, all right? Lady comes in, sits down, then they film this, and then they start working the magic. Ladies, if you believe that your value is based on how well you look compared to a billboard, you will never stack up. Why do we, the most Christian nation on the planet, spend $1 billion a year in plastic surgery to look like what doesn't even exist? Because we see these images all the time and we have been deceived into thinking that that's where our value is. Because I look like a billboard. This doesn't exist. This is Satan. He's the king of deception. You see, this is reality, and I'm not denigrating her in any way, shape, or form. But if you want to compare yourself, you better compare yourself with the truth. Because when you compare yourself with a lie, you will never stack up. God's word is the truth. You see, if you want to understand how valuable you are, here it is. In the beginning, God said he created you, he created me in his image. There's your value. If you're created in the image of God, what more can you need? God formed us. He made us, male and female, took dust, formed it, breathed into a life, and we became a living being. This is why I think the world fights so strongly against this. There's no two ways about it. God said, or man said. And what does man teach? 900 hours a year, that's the average time a young person spends in a school system, 900 hours a year where they indoctrinated day in, day out to see this message. Television, movies, video games, music, beer commercials. Day in and day out. By the way, that same child, 900 hours in a school system, 1,064 hours in front of a TV set. You want to talk about messages there? And we wonder why 50 to 88% of the children are walking away and suicide is the number 3 killer? Guys, what are they getting? They're getting inundated. So this is why we need to know it, have answers to these issues, because there's a battle going on. Let me let a non-Christian talk to you for a second here. Mr. Krottenmaker wrote this article in USA Today, and he said this: do religious believers really want the truth of their faith wagered on an attempt to prove that countless scientists have somehow botched their reading of the fossil record? I'm in. I wish I had time to do the whole fossil record talk with you. I can't. It's the green one back there. If you want to dig more into the fossil record, I'm telling you right now, the more you dig, the more you know, you won't be afraid to take this challenge on. You'll welcome it. He goes on to say this: creationist, I am one, I'm not ashamed of it. I wasn't raised one, I wasn't born one, trust me. I didn't come to the Lord till I was 26, 27 years old. 26 years old because it was 87. 26 years old, all right? Creationists are not interested in science? Go back and do the study for yourself. The founders of almost every branch of science were Bible-believing Christians, creationists. Go back, here's a good study. You parents, grandparents, here's a really good tool that you can use. It's an 1828 dictionary. It's free of charge on the internet. Just type in 1828 dictionary. Go in there, type in the word science, and look at the definition of science in 1828 and compare it with a dictionary today. The only reason he can make this statement that creationists aren't interested in science is because they have redefined the term. Oh, by the way, type in love, type in all kinds of words. Our language has, you want evolution? It's evolved. They've twisted meanings, and we've sat by and let them do it. Creationists ultimately aren't interested in science. We started it. We're just not interested in your interpretation of it. All right, and he goes on. Now watch this, and this is what I'm going to attempt to do. Setting aside preconceptions and following trails of observable evidence to logical, testable conclusions. So let's do that. Let's set aside our preconceived ideas and let's go after it. Let's take a look and see if what we see in the world is consistent with walking with cavemen or with what God said. Let's do it. Let's just go after it. Know it, live it, share it. I'm going to start off with it's a video called The Link. It came from a TV show that was called The Link. Okay. So, they also made a book. You know what they called the book? Okay, yeah, The Link. So this is important. This isn't maybe The Link. This is The Link. And it's got a really good looking website. I mean, it really is a good looking website. And on this website, you come up here, push on this button, and you can go to another section where you get to see the whole chart, push on the chart, and then here you go. There it is. There's a progression from Ida all the way up to us. What are we going to do? You know what we're going to do? We're going to look at the observable evidence. We're going to follow it to its logical, testable conclusion. By the way, if you ever go to Washington, D.C., call me along. I'll take you through the Smithsonian. That is like one of the best training grounds on this planet. Pray for me. This is a bunny trail. Side note. It's my head, man. This is really a very serious prayer request. I got convicted of this. I want to create a series. I call it Weapons for Mass Instruction. Zoos, museums, and aquariums. Weapons for mass instruction. You know why I say this? Is because every major city has a zoo, a museum, or aquarium. Every major city. And right now we're afraid of them. You know, many parents are afraid of them. Or we just send our children off to them and they go through with the school and then they get inundated with all these messages. I took a group of 160 young folks in Washington, D.C. through the Smithsonian. And when this young lady said this, it changed everything for me. Because after the second day, now before we go through, you got to give me an hour and a half. And we're going to go through every one of the 17 supposed evolutionary ancestors. We'll go through every one of them. What they got, what they don't have. All right, so you can deal with it. We go in there, spend 2 days. They were filming, I didn't know this, but this guy was outside filming the interviews with these young folks after they came out, and I just happened to hear this one young lady, and he said, so what'd you think about this? And don't think that I'm trying to blow my own horn. I'm not. I really am not. He asked her, said, so what'd you think of this? And she said, you know, after listening to him, Mr. Kerby speaking, going through there with him, if you take all of those signs away inside of there and just look at what the actual evidence is, this is like going through a creation museum in Washington, D.C. How cool is that? Bang! That's when it hit me. Why do I need to build another creation museum? I'm not attacking anyone. Come on down. I'll give you guest passes. I love the creation museum. I still take people through there whenever I'm in town, okay? Was with them for a long time. But why not start turning all these other creation or these other museums and zoos and aquariums into our mission field? So I want to create this series for the parents. So parents, you take your children through, you train your children how they can start leading tours through there, because I want you to be the hero to your children. I'm getting tired of the young folks coming and asking me questions when they should be coming to you. Pray for me. I don't say that with a mean spirit. I just say that from a spirit where I've got children coming after me. Children, it's like, guys, are you talking to your dad about this? No. Why not? Dads, I want to equip you. I want to fire you up, man. This chart here, you can deal with it, and I want to show you how easy it is to deal with it. Now, anybody remember Ida? That was a bunny trail, sorry. You remember Ida? A couple of years ago, big, man. She was big. She was so big she made it to Google. You know what I'm saying? If you make it to Google, brother, you are big time. She made it to Google. And the headlines were huge. Missing link found. What are we going to do? They have the link. They were huge. Scientists unveil the missing link in human evolution. Carl, what are you going to do? I'm going to listen to Sir David Attenborough.
Now people can say, okay, you say we're primates, like monkeys and apes, and that we came from very simple, generalized mammals. Show us the link. The link, they would have said, until now, is missing. Well, it is no longer missing.
So from an evolutionary perspective, is Ida important? Come on now. The link is no longer missing. This is huge. By the way, critical thinkers, do you understand that he just made a startling admission? What did he just tell us? The link they would have said until now is missing. Well, it is no longer missing. What does that mean about all these other missing links that we've had for the last 150 years? They're no good, because now we got Ida. So you know how simple it is? You get rid of Ida, everything else crumbles. Now, I won't do that. I'll deal with as much as I can in the amount of time that we got. But let's deal with Ida. Now, hour and a half DVD, if you want to get it, you can get it from History Channel. Hour and a half DVD, 2 hours worth of commercials. I took the hour and a half DVD, and this next clip is a montage, okay? It's a montage. I pulled clip, 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 and put it together. I could have made this twice as long as it is. But I want you to listen for keywords. See if there's any keywords that come up. Now, what was the name of the television program? The website? The book? The t-shirt? Okay, you've heard of it. Now please listen to this TV show.
The team thinks they believed it could shed new light on human evolution. She seems to be a bit of both. This could be it. It could help science. Could everyone on the planet be connected to this amazing find? Could hold the clue to link Ida to man. Could reveal her ancient behavior. It could shine a light deeper into our history than ever before. Could show whether it's a link to man's early evolution. They may have found the first ever link to human beings.
Oh, you caught some keywords there. Well, could, may have. How about this? See if I'm going out on a limb. Pun intended. Okay, never mind. It could be a link, so therefore it could be a lemur. Right? Could be. If it could be a link, it could be a lemur. And what should I do to figure out if it's a link or a lemur? I'm going to set aside my preconceived ideas. I'm going to follow the observable evidence to its logical, testable conclusion. And we're going to see if the actual evidence supports it being a link or a lemur. And I don't use not one creationist material. Not one. other than the Word of God. Don't need anything else. I need to teach how to critically approach what the world's throwing at us. That's all we need to do. Let's watch their TV program. See if we can't learn something.
When you look at the fossil for the first time and you get an impression of the completeness and you start to look at all the different details on this fossil, it's a quite short face. It's not like a very elongated face like you see in most lemurs. That's comparable almost to us because we got a very, very flat face.
We are in trouble. Ida has a flat face like us. What are we going to do? You know what we're going to do? We're going to go back to the Link website. Because when we go back to the Link website, we can push this other cool button up here and we can see the observable evidence. It'll take us directly to the fossil. Then we'll push on the face. It'll blow up the face. And you know what? I told you, ADD, teacher's nightmare right here. I cannot tell you how many tops of heads of teachers I have seen in my life. I see the top of their head all the time. Not because I'm tall. It's when I was sitting down in the chair. Because they would say something, I'd raise my hand. I can't tell you how many heads have wagged at me. Got a face like us? Inquiring minds want to know. Sure enough, looks just like us. I will never do another talk on this topic if anybody in this room knows anybody with a mug like that. I'm done. You win. Guys, it can't get any more lemur than that. The jaw is the same. The teeth are the same. This is their 3D reconstruction. Look at their 3D reconstruction. You know anybody that looks like that? I will grant you the $1 billion a year in plastic surgery. We need it if you look like that. That is a lemur. That's as lemur gets. And we don't want to set aside our preconceived ideas. Keep going. There's more. We got to go quick. I've run down bunny trails.
When you're looking at the whole body, you can look at the quite short arms, quite short legs. Not these very, very long legs and arms. Quite a small, compact body, like us.
What are we going to do? Ida has short arms like us. Ida's got short legs like us. You know what we're going to do? We're going to go look at the observable evidence. And sure enough, there it is. There's Ida's arms. And Ida's arm look exactly like a lemur. Oh, but don't trust me. I'm a Christian. I'm just trying to manipulate, okay? Take a listen. Now, this is their TV program, all right? Remember, this is their TV program. Listen carefully.
Creating an accurate 3D model of Ida. Now the team can compare her skeletal anatomy with living animals in minute detail. Her body proportions and finger length suggest she's a lemur.
What was that? Her body proportions suggest she's a what? I thought she has short arms like us. Not once. Not once.
But her body proportions and the length of her fingers are like a lemur's.
When you start teaching critical thinking, you see, it's just the way that I was raised. I joked with you all this morning. I don't know if I did or not. I typically do. But you see, you got to understand who you're dealing with here. Deep, theological, technical. You're not going to get that from me. Because I grew up around guys with one name, Crusher, Bruiser, Mauler, Assassin. My dad was a professional wrestler. Trust me. I do not have the ability to go deep and theological and technical on you. When you grow up in the home of a professional wrestler, IQ is not stressed. But you know what I did learn? How to smell a fake and a fraud from a block away. This is a fake and a fraud. Guys, he said it twice, that the body link suggests she's a... And by the way, there's some more deception going on. Critical thinkers, you know what the deception is? If you want to get famous in the world of evolution, you don't find monkey bones and you don't find people bones, because that's not going to make you famous. You got to find an ape-like ancestor, common ancestor between apes and humans. And the way that you know that you have an ape-like ancestor is you have a monkey that walks like a human. That's it. You find a monkey that walks like a human, you are golden, brother. You're going to get your TV program and your DVD. Looky there. Look at Ida. Monkeys are quadrupeds, knuckle draggers, right? We are, most of us, biped, walking on two legs, right? Look at Ida. She's walking up on two legs. Really? Listen to this. This is their TV program where they compare the skeletal structure of Ida and compare it with a chimp. A chimp, by the way, is a quadruped. Ida is a...
They are quadrupeds, walking on all fours, as she would have done in...
If she's a quadruped, why do you show her walking upright on two legs? Because you're being deceived, you're being lied to, and parents, we have got to start teaching how to observe the lie. Let's keep going, man. I've gone down bunny trails.
You can see that it's got 5 fingers, of course, and nails on all the fingers. But also, the thumb is opposable like us. So it can grasp things, it can hold things the same way we do today. It's already there 47 million years ago. It's a proper hand to hold around things.
What are we going to do? Ida has 5 fingers like us. Ida has nails like us. Ida has a thumb like us. Ida can hold round things like us. And you read the newspaper, she has certain undeniable human characteristics, such as forward-facing eyes and an opposable thumb. What are we going to do? You know what we're going to do? We're going to go look at the observable evidence. And let's take a look at Ida's hand there. By the way, anybody remember the quote? The finger link suggests she's a... So we already know that the finger length is complete with a lemur. By the way, you know what else is complete, compares with a lemur? Lemurs have 5 fingers. Lemurs have nails. So you know what? Ida has 5 fingers like a lemur. She has nails like a lemur. She has a thumb like a lemur. There's nothing human about that hand at all, not a thing. And by the way, you want me to shut up and never do another talk on this? I shouldn't say that word. That's a bad word. Forgive me. You want me to be quiet and never talk on this topic again? Look at that foot there. You know anybody that can hang by a tree out there by their toes, I'm done, I quit. I won't ever talk again. That's as lemur gets. That's monkey, man. Come on. You think we got a problem? Oh, but she has forward-facing eyes. Ida has eyes that face forward, just like a lemur. This is the best that they've got to prove that we evolved from an ape-like ancestor. I mean, Sir David pulled no punches. The link is no longer missing. Really? You know what bothers me? This is why I get a little fired up. That Mr. Yorn that we just got done listening to on all these TV programs, I want you to listen to him when he wasn't on the TV program selling you and I a bill of goods. When he was just doing interviews, listen to what he said in the interviews.
We are, of course, not stating that this is our direct ancestor. That's too much.
Excuse me? What was the name of the TV program? The book? The website? That's too much. That's not what you were saying when you were on all those other programs. Now he goes to the news media and they do interviews. Listen to this guy.
It's not a direct ancestor of monkeys and humans, but researchers say it provides a good indication of what such an ancestor may have looked like.
It is a member of the ancestors. We could call it, if we would put it familiarly, we are not dealing with our grandmother, but perhaps with our grand-aunt.
That's clear as mud. But perhaps a lemur. Right? What does the evidence support? A link or a lemur? You got to make that decision. I can't make that for you. But you know what I will do? I'm going to take you to the newspaper, and I'm going to let the newspaper tell you exactly what they found. You think that this supported evolution? I tell everybody be patient, give science time. They'll catch up to reality. It typically takes 11 months. Big headline, big picture, 11 months later. In the back of the newspaper, little tiny article, no pictures. All right? It didn't take 11 months. It took 2 days. Missing link primate isn't a link after all. Remember Ida, the fossil discovery announced last May with its own book and TV documentary, a publicity blitz. This is a secular paper, thank you very much. They called it a publicity blitz. Called it the link that would reveal the earliest evolutionary roots of monkeys, apes, and humans. Experts protested that Ida wasn't even a close relative, and now a new analysis supports their reaction. A new analysis says that a 47-million-year-old skeleton of the most complete fossil primate ever found is actually as far removed from the monkey-ape-human ancestry as a primate can be. Ida is gone. Do you know what the actual observable evidence shows? I'll let their TV program tell you. Whoops, sorry. Now I'll tell them.
This was an animal that looks like it died just a few years ago.
Amen. I'm in. And this is the best they got. Look at this newspaper report. Why was Eda so important? Because it's a part of our evolution that's been hidden so far. It's been hidden because all the other specimens are so incomplete. They are so broken, there's almost nothing to study. Let me let them talk to you.
They need to compare her to existing primate fossils from the human line. But there are only fragments.
Fragments. Now, if I had time, I could go through every one of these. RD, to be specific, we're talking when they first found it, 17 bone fragments. 17 bone fragments. And from that, we got a missing link. And from that, we know that it was a missing link because it was an ape that walked like a human. How do we know that it walked like a human? Because we found a toe bone. And the toe bone looked human, but the rest of the bones looked monkey. What you didn't know, I got all the pictures if you'd like to see them. They found the bones, those 17 bone fragments in 4 different locations spread out over 10 miles. The single toe bone that they found that looked human, they found that 10 miles away in a different layer of dirt. Now, for you and I, we got to understand this. To an evolutionist, think about it. The deeper you go in the dirt, the older that specimen is. Because they were laid down, and then over millions of years, this dirt laid down, and then whatever got laid down up here is younger than this down here, right? So they found the toe bone in a different layer of dirt, which by their calculations was anywhere from 200 to 400,000 years different. They take a toe bone, put it with a 17 or 16 bone fragments, and give you and I an ape-like ancestor. Guys, I could spend 20 minutes on her, him, whatever they want to call it. But we won't. We don't have time. All right? Oh, let me show you the picture, though. You got to see this. There it is. Wow. 11 teeth, 550 meters away, they found the skull, and then the leg bones. There you go. There's the evidence when they first found Artie. Now, they found a whole lot more sense, but it was so bad that when they found this other stuff later on, direct quote, the guy that found the hips in the dirt, it was so degraded that when they would touch it, it would just fall apart. It would crumble apart. And the guy said that when he saw the hips in the ground, it looked like an Irish stew. It was so crushed up and dismantled. So that's how we know we had a link there. But that one got kicked to the curb as well. Artie's gone. So we're going to move on, though, to the superstar. The superstar. I mean, y'all have heard this one. I mean, come on now. Lucy, right? You've heard of Lucy. You know who I'm talking about? Rocking the anthropological world, the second Lucy is discovered in southern Uganda. No. I am not talking about that Lucy. I'm talking about this Lucy. Now do you know who I'm talking about? Come on, this is the superstar in the world of evolution. She is it. I mean, looky there, Carl. You are in trouble. That is obviously an ape-like ancestor because it looks ape and it walks like a human. All I can tell you is from the neck up, that is one ugly lady. From the neck down, looking mighty human, but when she had a bad hair day, it was all over her body. That's not a good thing for a lady. Not a good thing at all. You know, I was just yesterday, I got a good friend, lives down here in Cocoa Beach, good friend. He wrestled as George the Animal Steel. Remember him? Any old timers like me? He wrestled as George the Animal Steel. He lives just down in Cocoa Beach. He's a dear friend, dear brother in Christ. Pray for him. His health is really struggling now. That's what he looked like back in the day, brother. I mean, he had that hairy body. That's not good for a lady. Now, that's obviously a link, Carl. That's a link. No. Yeah, you know, when I was in Shreveport, Louisiana a few years ago speaking, they brought Lucy's bones. This is the commercial they had made for their TV program. They brought Lucy to Houston initially, and they were driving children from Shreveport to Houston to walk in to see Lucy's bones. And if you don't think a museum is not like a church, oh, it is a church of secular humanism, brother. You walk in there and start talking on their field, they're going to be right up in your face. What are you teaching? What are you talking? I know from experience, okay? Her story is your story. You kidding me? Children were walking through looking at these bones and they're talking. I'm like, what? You're looking at Lucy. It's bones. And dude, you're not going to wake her up. She's dead. And according to you, she died 3.2 million years ago. Why can't I talk? They're bones. Be quiet. Respect. Really? They're monkey bones. Shh. What'd they find? Here you go. There's what they found. We are in trouble. Ooh. This isn't bone fragments here, man. This is a lot of evidence right here. Well, two very important things we need to know about Lucy. Number one, when they first found her, they called her Lucy because they thought that she was a she. German scientists studying the bones in 1996 figured out that she wasn't a she, that she was a he, and they wanted to rename her to Lucifer. I didn't suggest that name. That's their name. I'm just reporting facts to you, okay? So number two is that, oh, she's 40% complete. That's why Lucy was so important, because remember the others? We're talking bone fragments. One of the ones in there, 3 pieces of a jawbone. That's all they got. 17 bone fragments. Lucy, 40% complete. That's a lie. There are 206 bones in the human body as well as the chimpanzee body. If you would like to start counting the bones there, you will not find 40%. You'll find 23 to 28% maximum. No hand, no foot bone from Lucy. Now, they found the hand and foot bones from her relatives. You know what I'm saying? Not from her personally. She's an individual within a kind, all right? The same way that I'm an individual within the kind here tonight. Lucy's an individual within the kind. So, they found 23 to 28%. Now, that's still good compared to 17 bone fragments, but here's my point. Satan is a braggart. Satan is going to blow everything up. We don't need to do that. Let your yes be yes and your no, no. We put the truth out there. That's all we need to do. I don't have to blow this up any bigger than it is. I'll let it speak for itself. They took those skull fragments right there, did the reconstruction, and that is a chimp. It doesn't get any more chimp than that. But when you come with me to the Smithsonian and you walk in and see the reconstruction, woo, now that looks a little bit human, but it looks a little chimp. I mean, it's an ape-like ancestor. I'm standing there. Like I told you, you don't think that you're walking on holy ground according to the evolutionists when you're in their museum? I'm standing there with my mom and my sister talking about, look at this feature, look at this feature. Guy comes over, the docent. What are you teaching? Really? 3 of us standing here talking and you got to get in our business? So I told him what I was teaching. Very polite, very respectful. I don't want to be belligerent or ignorant. And I start pointing these things out to us. And he says, oh, well, this is why. Here's the quote, the guy that did the reconstruction. I wanted to get a human soul into this ape-like face to indicate something about where he was headed. Excuse me. You have a chimpanzee skull and you know he's headed somewhere? About the only way that you know, or any place you know he's headed, is to get a banana. That's it. Where he was headed. So we put a human soul into his face. You got monkey bones and you're putting human soul into it? Now watch the artwork. The bones aren't the issue. The bones aren't the problem for us. It's the artwork that's the issue. Look at here, look here. That's the St. Louis Zoo, and there's Lucy with a human hand thinking about what's for dinner. And look at here, look at here. Oh, she's looking up. What a good-looking man I got. And here, oh, hey, how y'all doing? The artwork is where you get all the human characteristics. What'd they find? Monkey bones. Oh, by the way, come with me to the Smithsonian. There they are. There's your evolutionary ancestors. 2 very important points from this right here. Number 1, what makes them look a little human? Anything stand out to you? Anything? What about the eyes? Simple question. Do apes have whites around their eyes? And the answer is no. When you take a chimpanzee skull and you stick a human eyeball into it, it automatically looks more human. Did they find a fossilized eyeball? No, they did not. Then how do they know that she had whites around their eyes? That was my question to the docent. Well, we put a human soul into it. That is not science, that is science fiction. And you are using my tax dollars to lie to millions upon millions of people that come through here every year, telling, well, look at this. This proves evolution. That's a lie. You don't know they had that. That's why they have to become weapons for mass destruction. All right? Now, here's another piece. Evolution is a racist philosophy. We in the church have dropped the ball on this issue. Many times we've dropped the ball. All right? Because we let the world kind of infiltrate our thinking. We said Jesus with our lips, but with our minds, we let the world into it. Evolution teaches that the closer you get to the apes, the black man evolved from the apes, And then over time, now I got the video. If you don't believe me on this one, I'll show it to you. Blacks in Africa ate fish, got smarter, so they moved up north to the cold region and turned white, and that's how we got white folks. That's the condensed version. Now, I got a simple point for you on that one. If they ate fish to get smart, I should be dumber than a brick and dark, because I don't like fish at all, okay? And number two, if they got so smart, why are they going up to the cold regions, brother? I'm living on the beach. Smart people moving up north to the cold. Are you kidding me? It's a racist philosophy. And we let them teach our children that day in and day out. And then we bite into it. You know how we bite into it? Use the term interracial marriage, Christian. The next time you use the term interracial marriage, you just bought off on the lie, because there's only one race, the human race. Acts 17:26, we are all of one blood. 1 Corinthians 15:45, first man, Adam. Everybody goes back to one man. Genesis 3:20, Eve is called Eve because she is mother of all living. Therefore, we all go back to one woman. Therefore, there's one race, the human race. Therefore, there's no such thing as interracial marriage. We got to get rid of that term because that philosophy has infiltrated the church. I've been booted from churches because my wife is Japanese, so I'm therefore in an interracial marriage. You can't believe, man, I tell you, I get fired up on that one because we have dropped the ball on this. Here's some more deception. Let's move on. Bunny trail. These are the jaw. Whoops.
It could come about in the following.
Forgive me. That's really ADD. Moved way ahead of. Got to show you this. The jaws. They took the jaws of Lucy and they lined it up with a chimp and an ape. And looky there. She is halfway in between apes and humans. We are in trouble. She is the missing link. Wow. Let me show you the deception used on this one. I'm going to draw a horizontal line. Then I'm going to do something. I'm going to move the jaws so that the back of the jaw is on the top of the red line. I'm not going to change the size or the shape of the jaw, but let's put the back of the jaw on the top of that horizontal line. And a simple question is this: is Lucy so halfway in between ape and human now? That is a totally chimpanzee jaw. Period. But if you move one down and one up, ooh, this is why we have to teach critical thinking. We have to teach it because we're being lied to. They go into the museums and there it is. There's Lucy looking like an orangutan, looking all the way. This is London. And I got a simple question. I love doing trips through the London Natural History Museum. London, Lucy, human hand, human feet, Pledge of Allegiance. I don't get it. London, Pledge of Allegiance. Help me. Here's the American Natural History Museum. There she is, and the boyfriend's got his arm. What a good couple that looks like to me. Guys, what's the evidence for this? They found a pile of bones, monkey bones. So, how do we know that she had human hands and human feet? You go to St. Louis, you go to the Smithsonian, you go to London. That's a human foot. I mean, a little nair would solve the rest of the problem, but that is a human foot. How do we know that she had human feet? Did they find any hand or foot bones from Lucy? No, they did not. But they found it from her cousins. Remember I told you that? Her relatives? What did the foot bones and the hand bones from Lucy's relatives show? Did it show that she was ape-like ancestor, halfway in between apes and humans? Because if she's an ape-like ancestor, her toes should be, think about it, if she's a missing link, should her toes be more curved than a human or less curved than a human? More. Should her toes be more curved or less curved than a chimp? Less. She should be halfway in between. What does the observable evidence show? This is not a Christian creationist form. This is anthropology, right? And they show that the curvature of Lucy's relatives' toe bones are more curved than a chimpanzee, more curved. And the exact same thing is true for the hand. You see human hand on Lucy? The bones that they found from her relatives showed that her finger bones were more curved than a chimp. Don't trust me. I'll let you listen to Mr. Ian Tattersall, Extinct Humans. He's not a Christian. He's not a creationist. And this is what he wrote in his book. In keeping with Lucy having had long and strongly curved finger and toe bones, as do chimpanzees and orangutans. If that's the truth, then why is it that you and I go into museums and see human hand and human feet on Lucy? You're being lied to. Your tax dollars are being used to perpetuate the lie. Thank you very much. And that bothers me. Put the truth out there. That's all I ask. They know it's not true and they still put it in there. That isn't right. So, what's the evidence show? We're going to watch another few clips from a program for Lucy. This is used in the public schools to teach our children that Lucy was our ape-like ancestor, so we're going to look at it because I love just taking their stuff and critical evaluating it.
We needed Owen Lovejoy's expertise again because the evidence wasn't quite adding up. The knee looked human, but the shape of her hip didn't.
Let's break it down. Do you hear what he just said? He said that the knee looked human, but the shape of her hip didn't. By the way, did they even find a complete knee for Lucy? No, they didn't. They found a bone from one leg and a bone from another. Don't trust me? Let's go to a non-Christian website here. These guys don't like us at all. And what do they put? The skeleton called Lucy does not have an intact knee. Then how do you know it looked human? But the shape of her hip didn't. Now remember, this is bad. If you're going to be an ape-like ancestor, you have to walk like a human. And in order to walk like a human, you have to have hips curved like a human. So the question, therefore, is how were Lucy's hips curved?
Superficially, her hip resembled a chimpanzee's.
Ouch.
Which meant that Lucy couldn't possibly have walked like a modern human. But Lovejoy noticed something odd about the way the bones had been fossilized.
When I put the two parts of the pelvis together that we had, this part of the pelvis has pressed so hard and so completely into this one that it caused it to be broken into a series of individual pieces which were then fused together in later fossilization.
Man, there's a lot going on there. We got to deal with it. We have got to deal with this. Do you hear what he said? Her bones are broken after she died, then fused together in later fossilization. Forgive me. I'm not trying to be crude. But when you die, are your bones fusing anymore? Your fusing days are done the day that you die. The decay process kicks in. So how did her bones fuse back together and later fossilization? I mean, come on, help me on that one. And then he said that the hips look chimpanzee. That is a big problem. How did that happen? How did we go from human hip Lucy to chimp hip Lucy? I'll let him tell you.
After Lucy died, some of her bones lying in the mud must have been crushed or broken, perhaps by animals browsing at the lakeshore.
This has caused the two bones, in fact, to fit together so well that they're in an anatomically impossible position.
Okay, did you catch this? How did human hip Lucy turn to chimp hip Lucy? Very simple. Human hip Lucy takes a stroll down by the lake. She dies. Her body lays there, the flesh rots off. Along comes a deer, and the deer steps on her hips, crushing them, and then the hips fuse back together, but this time they're curved like a chimp. That's what he said. You think I'm mocking? That's their story. That's their story. And then he goes on to say this. He said that they fit together so well, they were in an anatomically impossible position. What does that mean? You see, people love to use big words to scare us off. I'm not afraid of that. I'll go do some digging. Even though I don't understand the word, I'll go do some digging. Anatomically impossible? Well, she had hips curved like a chimp, so she couldn't walk like a human, so therefore, it's not right. Excuse me, if she's a chimp, she should have hips curved like a... Nothing anatomically impossible about that.
The perfect fit was an illusion that made Lucy's hip bones seem to flare out like a chimp's. But all was not lost.
The perfect fit showed she had hips curved like a... That's the perfect fit. I mean, does it get any better than that? Oh, that's an illusion. That's an illusion. They have hope. They have hope. You know, I wish I had the voice. I wish I had the voice. Remember, mature folks, remember $6 Million Man? I'm telling you, I'm sorry. I'm letting the flesh come out here. I wish I had the announcer's voice. Remember that voice? You know, I got you younger generation, you missed out, but I'll play it.
Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology.
I wish I had that voice. We can rebuild him. We have the technology. Oh. I want you to see where they placed their hope. Oh, no. I want you to hear where they placed their hope. So please do me a favor. If your eyes are still open, go ahead and close them for a second, because I want you to hear what they did to solve this problem. Go ahead, close your eyes. I'll tell you when to open them. This is what they did. You can open your eyes.
Lovejoy decided he could restore the pelvis to its natural shape. He didn't want to tamper with the original, so he made a copy in plaster. He cut the damaged pieces out and put them back together the way they were before Lucy died. It was a tricky job, but after taking the kink out of the pelvis, it all fit together perfectly, like a three-dimensional jigsaw puzzle. As a result, the angle of the hip looks nothing like a chimp's, but a lot like ours.
You think? If you use a Dremel and cut out the stuff that you don't like, I hope it looks like the way that you want it to look. You creationists, you don't want to set aside your preconceived ideas and follow the observable evidence to its logical, testable conclusion. I'm at the Smithsonian. Hour and a half with these youth. We're standing there. There's about 7 or 8 of the youth around me because I had to break it down into groups. And we're standing there looking at the Lucy construction there. Dosen walks up to us, pulls down the picture of Lucy. Isn't this amazing? Lucy had hands and feet just like us. I want to say something, but I don't want to say something. You know what I'm saying? I've just spent like a couple hours, 3 hours pouring into these kids, and I'm like, oh, please, 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 somebody say something. Young lady, about 14 years old, raises her hand. Sir, we just got done listening to a speaker, and he said that they didn't find any hand or foot bones from Lucy. Well, that's true, but they found some from her relatives. Another young lady raises her hand. But sir, he told us that the hand and foot bones that they found from the relatives were actually the fingers and toes were more curved than a chimpanzee. I don't know anything about that. But look at these hips. Lucy had hips just like a human. She walked just like us. Another young lady raises her hand. Now I'm ticked off. You know why I'm ticked off? Because the guys are standing there like a bunch of lunks, man. And the girls are the one doing all the talking. Now, ladies, let me be straight with you. If your guy's standing around like a lunk, you don't want him. Because if he's not going to be bold for the Lord Jesus Christ, you don't want him as your man. Because you want a spiritual man. You want a guy that's going to speak up. Now, I'm not opposed to ladies speaking up. Don't get me wrong. But gentlemen, we need to step up and be the spiritual leaders that God has called us to be. And if you're a lunk, get out of here. I don't have time for lunks. Young lady raises her hand. Sir, we just got done listening to this guy, and he said that the bones that they found showed that her hips were curved like a chimp, and they had to use a Dremel to cut them up to make them look like a human. I don't know anything about that film. Where are you guys from? The church. And as soon as he heard church, my man, it was like, remember the road runner? Ching! He was gone. Now, they were polite, they were respectful. Please do not think that I'm advocating being impolite and ridiculing and mocking and condescending. I'm not doing that at all. But we need to ask good questions and have an answer why we believe what we say we believe. We need to know it, we need to live it, we need to share it. Let me show you one last piece. I know, I cut a lot out, but you're getting enough of it, I hope, to get the picture. Houston Museum of Natural Science. This is where they had the bones, driving those children to come in there and look at Lucy. They made a study guide up. This is their study guide for the secular teachers to teach the children about Lucy. What did they put in their study guide, all right? For 20 years, Lucy was thought to be the oldest human-like fossil ever found. Even though older fossils have been found in the past 13 years, Lucy remains the benchmark by which all other discoveries are judged. Lucy has become a household name. But watch this. For many years, Lucy was thought to be a direct human ancestor. That's not a good start. But we now see her as belonging to a separate group of hominids from those which became our species, Homo sapien. What does that mean? Lucy, by their own words, is not a human ancestor. You go to the Smithsonian, 17 ancestors, 13 of them, when you go to their website and follow their links, 13 of the 17 say not a human ancestor. Then why is it in the human family tree? Because there's nothing to put in there. And we let 900 hours a year, 1,064 in front of a TV set, indoctrinate our children into thinking that this is a fact. And we're losing our kids in droves because I humbly believe that we are not teaching them how to apply the Word of God in the real world. And once you start doing it, man, it becomes a game. My son and I love going to movies and catching all the message coming at us. We love it. It's a game. We love going through zoos, museums, and aquariums. Parents, you got to teach critical thinking to your children. Father, I thank you. These are serious folks. They're coming out on a Father's Day to an evening service. And so, Lord, I thank you that they would be willing to come out and spend time. Lord, you know my heart. I can come across caustic, mean, I don't know. But that's not my heart, Lord. You know that. We're losing 50 to 88% of our children, and I think we just have to be straight. We have to be real. So help us, Lord, to not pawn off our responsibility to anybody else. It's our job as the parents to train and teach our children. And Father, specifically, Lord, you know that, and that's what we have to do. We have to pick up the ball and run with it. We have to teach our children how to deal with these issues. We are weak, we're fallen, we're fallible, we don't know everything, but Lord, you're not going to hold us accountable for what we don't know. But we need to study to show ourselves approved. We need to be prepared to give an answer. We need to be obedient to you and become better at knowing it, living it, and sharing it. We thank you for this cake that we're going to get right now. We appreciate that, Lord. Thank you for blessing us with good things like that. And there's so many good things that we just take for granted. Give us a week here. This week, Lord, put somebody in our path that we can share the love of Christ with. And we're going to turn it over to you and give you all the glory and honor. In Jesus' name, amen.